Look at this. This is not fertilizer. This is not a product. This costs nothing. And yet, what I'm about to show you is probably the most powerful thing you've ever put into your garden. For industry, that's messy. For nature, that's exactly why ecosystems survive. Somewhere along the way, we started treating fertility like something manufactured, even though healthy soil has been building itself for free long before humans showed up. Not hidden, not secret, just badly translated into our modern gardening world. Because if a few potatoes and a handful of forest soil are enough to multiply life in the ground, what exactly are you buying? In South Korea, a farmer named Cho Han-kyu noticed something others ignored. More chemicals, rising yields, then weaker soils, more vulnerable plants, more dependent farmers. Cho asked a simple question. If a forest has grown for centuries without fertilizer, why can't a field? He didn't find the answer in a lab. He found it by walking into the forest, pushing the leaf litter aside, and watching. The forest doesn't fertilize itself through products. It fertilizes itself through life. Under every healthy forest floor, an invisible workforce never stops moving, breaking things down, recycling nutrients, feeding roots before the plant even knows it needs help. The forest looks calm above ground. Underneath, it's chaos working perfectly. This forest doesn't need a bottle, it needs continuity. Cho collected these organisms, multiplied them, and brought them back to agricultural land. From that came Korean natural farming. From that came JADAM Microbial Solution, JMS for short. And now comes the part most people get wrong. JMS is not a fertilizer. If you misunderstand that, you'll be disappointed. Done right, you're not adding nutrients. You're bringing living organisms back, organisms that can communicate with your plants. Forest soil delivers microbes. Potatoes deliver starch as food. Sea salt stabilizes the environment. The microbes find food, start dividing. Slowly at first, then exponentially. From 100 cells come millions. Some of these microbes do something even stranger. They don't just sit in the soil. They influence how plants grow. Stronger roots, faster recovery after stress, better growth during weak conditions. Not because you forced the plant, because the biology underneath finally started working again. A fertilizer says, here are nutrients. A microbial system says, here is life that can mobilize nutrients. It's not just the plant that changes, the soil changes. But now, the part nobody talks about. If you pour JMS onto dry, bare, dead soil, often nothing happens. Because microbes don't live on magic. But here's the mistake people make. They treat JMS like a miracle cure. It isn't. Think of it like lighting a fire. If there's no fuel waiting underneath, the flame dies fast. No mulch, no organic matter, no moisture, no life. But when the conditions are right, your soil changes. More crumbly, better at holding water, with deeper roots, faster decomposition. And this is exactly where most people fail. They do the bucket right, but treat the soil wrong. Now I'm going to show you how to do it right. The setup sounds almost too simple to work. A bucket, water without chlorine, potatoes, forest soil, a little sea salt, that's it. No expensive ingredients, no hidden formula. But small mistakes matter here, because what you're growing isn't a mixture, it's a living culture. Start with potatoes. Boiled until soft. Nothing fancy, leave the skin on. The cloudy starch water matters just as much as the potato itself. That becomes food for the microbes you're about to multiply. Then the forest soil. Then comes the most important ingredient, and the one you can't buy. Forest soil, not from the surface. Push past the leaves. Find the darker layer underneath, the place that smells alive. That's exactly where the microbial world lives that you want to multiply. Potatoes and forest soil go separately into cloth bags and hang in the water. Why separately? Because you want to get the organisms into the water, not create a bucket of sludge. Add a small amount of unrefined sea salt. It stabilizes the environment. Overdosed, it poisons exactly what you're building. Store in the shade, not ice cold, not in the sun, cover loosely. Then you wait. The most important moment doesn't come when you mix it. It comes when you realize they're alive. After 24 to 48 hours, the surface starts to foam. In cold weather, it takes longer. The foam is your signal, not the calendar, not a time on the clock. visible activity. Is it foaming and smelling sour alive like wet forest floor? The culture is active. Does it smell rotten, like sulfur, like decay? Something tipped, new forest soil, fresh water, less salt. Or start over, not more complicated, just cleaner. If the first batch fails, good. Now you know what living biology looks like when conditions go wrong. That knowledge matters more than getting lucky once. And now, the part most people skip. Start with 1 part JMS to 10 parts water. Pour directly onto the soil, around the plants, not on the leaves. Most failed batches happen for the same reasons. Chlorinated water quietly kills what you're trying to grow. Too much salt turns stability into damage. Dead compost brings a little life into the bucket. Undiluted mixtures stress young plants, and empty soil gives microbes nothing to survive on. Same recipe, different way to fail. Avoid these 5 and you already understand more than most people. And when you use JMS as part of a system with mulch, compost, living roots, moisture, it stops being a tool. It becomes the foundation. The change doesn't come overnight. It comes gradually. The soil gets darker, a sign of organic activity. The smell changes too. Richer, earthier, like soil after rain. That's usually a sign something underground is finally waking up again. It crusts less after rain because the structure is changing. Plants handle stress more steadily. Roots become more branched, deeper, denser. Vegetables grow more evenly with more flavor. This is not a fireworks show. This is a system slowly coming back online. This method doesn't say, pour this once and tomorrow your garden explodes. It says, build a system alive enough to work with your plants. That's less sexy than a miracle product, but a lot closer to how soil actually works. Maybe this is exactly where your thinking goes wrong. Most people try to fix gardens the same way. Add something, another fertilizer, another booster, another correction. But healthy soil doesn't become stronger through endless inputs. It becomes stronger through relationships. In healthy soil, nothing works alone. Dead leaves become food. Roots feed microbes through sugars. Fungi connect plants underground like hidden highways. Some plants even send chemical warnings before pests spread. The garden isn't separate parts. It's one conversation happening underground. This is not a myth. This is mycology and soil microbiology. Researched, documented, replicable. Soil is not a tank that gets filled. It is an ecosystem that gets brought back to life. This bucket is not a shortcut around nature. It's a shortcut back. And once you understand that, you look differently at every bag of fertilizer, every bottle, every shelf at the garden center. Not because all of it is bad, but because you suddenly know the most important technology for your soil is not on a shelf. It's under the leaf litter in the forest. So maybe the real question isn't whether this bucket works. Maybe the question is, why have we accepted the idea that life in the soil has to come in a bag? Because once you see how nature builds fertility, it's hard to look at gardening the same way again. And if the answer has been sitting under fallen leaves this whole time, what else have we completely misunderstood?